You're listening to BBC Radio Sussex and BBC Radio Surrey. Sarah Gorrell with you through until 2 o'clock this afternoon. So we're talking about the difference between mainstream and special education there. It's all been part of our Send Me On My Way podcast programme that we are doing in the evenings. But what about how we teach our children in schools? Leonora Langley joins me on the programme now from Hampton Court. And now her book, Let the Souls of Our Children Sing, is all about the vital importance of nurturing emotional well-being in the young. Is there too much emphasis on the SATs and the cognition and the logic, and not enough on mental well-being in our schools? Let's find out more from Leonora. Thank you so much for joining us. Very good to have you on the programme today.
Oh, good morning, Sarah. Lovely to connect with you.
It's very interesting, isn't it? Because I've got children, and I remember, the reports and the coming through primary school, and you know all about their abilities when it comes to maths and English and the rest of it. But sometimes what gets us by in life is our ability to interact and our emotional well-being.
Absolutely. Since the 1870s, Sarah, our education system has barely moved away from a Victorian ethic, a 19th century model of too much emphasis on cognition and logic, because it can be counted and measured, over the emotional development of our children and the nurturing of their souls, which I think is beyond measure. So for the past 150 years, there have been two main aims of education. We've got the transmission of a body of knowledge and cultural values from one generation to another, and the creation of a productive workforce. But I think education needs to be about the development of self-actualization. That may sound a bit pretentious, but that's the expression that's used as described by Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow. And they were both humanistic psychologists. What we need to do is to help our children develop a true sense of self-awareness, self-compassion, and self-love, integrating the physical, intellectual, social, spiritual, and emotional.
Do you think it's interesting? Because I suppose even during the time my children have been at school, it's moved more towards the testing and the SATs and the comparing yourself against other people. Because there's a lot now. My daughter's about to do her GCSEs, and I sometimes watch her revising and think she's never going to have to do that in life. She's never going to have to regurgitate a whole load of information, be tested on that, whatever she does. But and this is maybe why you hear from people who weren't successful at school, but then they're very successful in life, because sometimes the skills you need to navigate life are very different.
Of course. So at the present time, mainstream education is all too competitive, mechanical, prescriptive, sedentary, and soul-destroying, especially so many exams, so many testings. Our children need time to relax and just be. School is not a business, Sarah. It's about human beings. And it's just gone too much since 1988 with the introduction of the national curriculum. Our children have been over-tested, over-homeworked, over-pressurized, resulting in a generation of children who experience constant stress and anxiety, leading to depression, self-harming, and suicidal ideation.
It's interesting as well, because I know that's possibly some of the schools, those working in education, might think, well, actually, it's affected my job as well. I know my mum was a teacher, and when all this came in, when things changed, and suddenly there was a lot more emphasis on what she had to do as opposed to sort of some of the creative things she'd been able to do in the past.
That's right. So teachers need to be able to teach through their strengths and their talents. Otherwise, they get soul destroyed too. It's so very, very sad, because teachers are usually altruistic. They want to do the best they can for society and for the individual child. But they're also being too restricted by not allowing their own creativity, imagination, and artistry to shine through.
Do you think this will change, though? I mean, I suppose there's been more emphasis on emotional well-being after the pandemic. A lot of children have been affected by this. Do you think people will reappraise, or are we too immersed now in doing things as they have been done for many, many years?
We're definitely since the pandemic, we have been presented with a real opportunity to reassess and reset our traditional protocols, including mainstream education, which desperately needs a shift in emphasis. I'm not talking about something really radical here. I'm just talking about a shift in people's consciousness, both parents and educationists. We're just putting too much pressure on the young. And these high-flying A-star students are particularly vulnerable. They want to do well, they want to please their parents and their teachers. But at the end of the day, we must just allow children to be. Because children come in as sentient beings, feeling beings. But before long, as a result of things like repression, subjugation, intimidation, and indoctrination, which includes stuffing them full of facts and figures, young people start to live in their heads, in a head narrative. What we need to do, I think, is to help children access and express their feelings through their entire body. What children feel is just as important as what they think. There's a tendency for children now to argue themselves from their feelings or feel disembodied from them. We need to let them know that they're safe in feeling and expressing their feelings.
Well, it's really interesting talking to you. There's more of this in your book, Let the Souls of Our Children Sing. Leonora Langley there from Hampton Court. And actually, it's really interesting what Leonora also talks about is external validation and the fact that we're constantly looking to social media to validate us. That doesn't just apply to children, does it? Really interesting thoughts there. Maybe you've got something you'd like to add. Leonora Langley there from Hampton Court. Her book is called Let the Souls of Our Children Sing. Radio Surrey. And she will be talking about the importance of emotional well-being at Katie's House Nursery in Hampton Court on Tuesday, the 5th of April. So quite soon, actually, with that talk.